Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us today for our crowdfunding workshop. We are thrilled that you have decided to join us this afternoon. As you are joining us, if you would be so kind to take our poll, and that just gives us a little poll, kind of a pulse poll of where you are in your stage of business, or whether you're a small business champion like myself, hopefully a future entrepreneur at some point on the journey. And if you also would like to introduce yourself in the chat, we'd love to know who's here today, and opportunity to network and meet some other folks that are here today. And we will go ahead and get started. So just a few housekeeping notes. I am recording this workshop. That way we can go back and share this with you all after the presentation. If you would be so kind to keep your microphone on mute, that way that minimizes any background noise and things in the recording. If you would like to have closed captioning on, that is an option down at the bottom of your Zoom menu. You'll have the opportunity to turn that on, and you can also turn that off. Like I said, if you will introduce yourself in the chat, and then also that's where you can post questions. You can post those directly to me, or you that way, if you don't want to be acknowledged specifically in the chat, I want this to be a learning experience, an opportunity for all of us to learn and be here together today. All right. So my name is Heather Fay, and I'm the Regional Program Director and Botetied Advisor for the Roanoke Regional Small Business Development Center. We're a small and mighty team that serves small businesses throughout our region. We offer confidential advising, education, workshops, events, and online resources as shown here on our screen. This is a snapshot of our website and some of the downloads that we have in our library to help your business thrive. We invite you to reach out to start a relationship with one of our advisors and start taking your business to the next level. And I'll post our contact information in the chat in just a minute. The Roanoke Regional Small Business Development Center is funded in part through a cooperative agreement with the United States Small Business Administration, and we're supported by the Americas SBDC, the Virginia SBDC, the Mason Enterprise Center at George Mason University. Pandemic-related capacity building grant funding has been provided by Go Virginia, and other funding is provided by local administrations, economic development offices, organizations, and businesses that are all champions in your corner. Thank you to our hosts, the Roanoke Regional Chamber of Commerce, who provides support and space for our work. The Roanoke Regional SBDC currently serves the Roanoke Valley, Franklin County, Allegheny Highlands, and New River Valley. We are part of the Virginia SBDC network, which has 27 SBDCs all over the Commonwealth. Not limited to, if you are joining us from out of state, there are SBDCs all over the United States. But these triangles on this map of Virginia show where there's SBDCs closest to your business. I'll also post a link to where you can find more about the SBDC nearest you. All right. Well, next up, I want to introduce Joey, who is going to be our main speaker today. And then we have a special guest, Steffon, who he and his brother Quincy have actually gone through crowdfunding. And we had another guest who's a local business owner, employed Brittany Bonner, who is with Buffalo Mountain Adventures. Unfortunately, she is ill today, but she has shared a few remarks that I will share when we get to that part of the presentation. But I'm going to stop sharing my screen and share Joey's presentation, and then Joey will share with us just some of the nuts and bolts and great things about crowdfunding and opportunities. And Joey, y'all, he is a wealth of information, and I just nerd out every time I get a chance to interact with Joey and learn from him. I just want to be this giant sponge because there's so much knowledge that he has to share. So Joey, if you want to share a little bit about your role, and then I will transition our slides here.
Not a problem. Again, my name is Joey Pocan. I'm with the Small Business Administration. I've been a business owner almost to the point where it's a hobby for me now, where I start little tiny micro business. I'm always in something. That's the easiest way. And I can be a little eccentric at times and talk even faster. So I apologize for that. So your interaction in the chat is going to be absolutely key to us being able to communicate today. If I get to talking too fast, just, whoa, Can you slow that down? You're a little too much for me. I get it. And I'll be happy to kind of reverse that for you. So today I'm going to talk to you about the nuts and bolts of a crowdfunding campaign and where and secret squirrel time. Whenever I say secret squirrel time, that's time to take a note. Okay, so secret squirrel time on this, right? When I say secret squirrel, you need to take a note and where the value actually is in a crowdfunding. Believe it or not, cash, they print money every day. It's abundant. It just takes a little savviness to get to it. Yes, it can seem like barriers, but that's all barriers are, just barriers. The truth, what you really get from a crowdfunding campaign will last you well into your business and much further than that if you use the data that you collect savvy. And I understand data because I work for the federal government. Like, that's just what it is. Right? So today I'm going to share some of these little tidbits with you. And speaking of tidbits, I'm going to share a link with you all today, just so you can stay up to date on the updated tax requirements for your crowdfunding campaign that are explained to you in plain English, and something that you can go back to on a regular basis, along with the site has a few other little tidbits in it after the presentation. So you have to stay for my presentation. That's the trade-off. I'm sorry. So let's go ahead and kick this off with the first slide, please. All right, so basically what I'm going to break this down to is how to, when to, what to do, what not to do, and what you get out of that equation. Think of this, I always think of things in equations. So, because I'm a nerd at the end of the day. So next slide. Okay, plain and simple. If somebody's making claims on a website that is beyond this definition of a crowdfunding campaign, understand that it is not a crowdfunding campaign that you are in. This is how the federal government sees crowdfunding. This is what it is. Basically, it's just a way for somebody to donate some money to you over a certain period of time in a campaign to launch a website where people can give you more money. If you choose to give somebody something with no trade-off of the monetary value of it, it is crowdfunding. If there is a trade-off that has a monetary value to it, that is an investment, and that is different. That will need to be reported on your taxes. So, for instance, and you see this a lot on these popular websites, just to clarify, if I launch a GoFundMe site tomorrow and I have a 1, 2, 3 tier, and in there, those are just gifts for your generosity for the amount of money that you gave me within a certain range. That is totally fine. But the moment is, if you give me X amount, you will get this. And that is a statement that is used, or an expectation, right? That's a different thing. The IRS got involved. It is what it is. We know Uncle Sugar was going to get a taste of this when it started getting bigger and bigger and bigger. This is the world we live in. So make sure that when you're involved in these particular campaigns, generally they're 28 to 30 days with an option to extend. We have somebody who will explain that in better detail than I will today. But generally it's a campaign. That's going to be another word you want to keep in your head. Secret squirrel time. Write this down. A campaign, right, means that you are not out there doing it by yourself. You have a team of people to assist you. And I hope Steffon's story verifies that for me today. Okay, it does. He's smiling. All right, next slide. All right, so the trade-off, crowdfunding that expect some sort of gift or something like that, it's no longer a crowdfunding, but we all know that there's an expectation, right? Maybe not a tit for tat, but if you gave somebody money, right, you generally expect a thank you or something along those lines. Federal government understands this. We're not getting hung up on this. All right. It's when the agreement becomes a problem. So make sure all your statements and all that are on par, right? This is a gift. This is a thank you. This is right? Not a tit for tat type of thing. Generally, the product itself is often associated with it. I don't want to spend too much time on trade-offs because it's a sticky situation, but clear verbiage at any one of the good websites that handle it actually kind of coach you along in this. I'm not going to say they script it out for you, but they make a very strong recommendation. Also, currently on YouTube right now, there's 113 videos on how to run a successful crowdfunding campaign. And I don't want to, and those people are a lot more interesting than me. So next slide. Okay, so why crowdfunding? All right, secret squirrel time. All right, one of my two of my positions here in the SBA, I have a lot of positions. One of them is I'm an economic development specialist. I love data. The more data I can get, the more it makes sense. And because I love data so much, the SBA made me a lender relations expert. That's a fancy way of saying that I talk to banks. I talk to banks all the time, and then banks mess up because they talk back to me. And when the things they say, I bring it to you because my job as an economic development specialist is to make sure you know what's going on. So, haha, full circle. So here's the deal. You're a small business. You need a loan, right? First thing bank wants to know is what you got to put into it. I don't have anything. That's like 75% of the answer. I need the money so I can make the money, so I can pay you back the money. So I don't have the money to give to you. Complicated. Generally 80-20. Not a problem. Just so happens there, Mr. Banker, that I have a crowdfunding campaign right now for the 20% of the amount of money that I want to own. Now the banker's interested. Here's why. The amount of data that or cash that you can receive for a business that hasn't even started yet, for a product that doesn't even exist yet, for something that may not even touch the market, but people are willing to donate to, banks are very comfortable with that because now we have a type of tribalism called investment tribalism. People that have a certain passion for something get very much involved in it, and they generally do it with money, especially today. Now that everybody's kind of locked up in their house, yeah, prices are soaring a little bit, but charities are thriving right now. And that's how people generally look at this thing that they have, they want in their community, or they want access to it, and they want their friends and families that are interested in the same thing. This is data. So all this is market research at the end of the day. Secret squirrel time. If you run a small campaign for something small, keep it simple, keep it easy, and keep it for a thing in the business, not necessarily starting the business, and it wins, that is something you need to be bragging about in that beautiful business plan that you spent so much time on and that you went to the SBDC to help you write and all these other people. This is a great amount of data, and you should be bragging about that in there. Humble bragging, not Joey Pocan bragging. I'm a vivacious bragger, but you should really be able to talk to that. And from that, guess what else you got? Because of the back form of the platform, now you have marketing data, demographics, location, economic range. We can pull all that data down now thanks to that beautiful, beautiful crowdfunding campaign you did. Next slide. So how do you run it, right? So here's what you do. Back to the campaign, right? You have to have some skill set, right, in social media. And I understand people are like, I got Facebook, I got that covered. Not so much, right? You're gonna have to step up the game a little bit. More money means more platforms. Think of it that way, right? And you can generally break this out by the tens of thousands. So if you need $10,000, you're gonna need 2 to 3 social media sites, and you got to have a campaign of people to push it. Think about any other election or politics. There's a group of people that are standing by to get information and share it about their beautiful campaign person politicking out there, right? That's what you're going to need as well. It's a campaign at the end of the day. Handful of people, they see the link, they share it, like, subscribe, all the YouTuber stuff, like, subscribe, all that stuff, or boost it, right? You can boost on Instagram, you can boost on Facebook, and you can boost on Twitter, right? For a small fee, very stupid small fee. And you can break it down by zip code to keep it even cheaper. Again, if we're looking at a particular demographic in an area, right? Why talk to somebody in California if you're in Roanoke, Virginia, asking them for money? You're not going to sell out that way. Localize that, target it down, because this helps for future funding in the future when it's like, hey, Roanoke really likes it. That's how it's looked at. Roanoke likes this. The people of Roanoke love this thing. Somebody in California, if that's a banker, is going to be like, and there's our variables. And variables are not good. You throw a bunch of variables, just random variables in this stuff. So before you start your campaign, go ahead and start setting up that social media and those campaign people that are going to chant your name throughout the interwebs. Next slide. Also, once you launch, you're looking at daily to 2 to 3 times a week Where are you at in the goals? What are you looking to add? What why am I still paying you money, or why should I push this out even further for my friends to know? So to do that, again, updates, tell your story. You have a fast, I don't know any of you personally. I don't think I know anybody personal in the chat. Nobody's used any foul language yet. So, as you go forward with this, know your audience, know who you're talking to, push that story. It says script in the slide. Look, saying a few times in the mirror, a few times in the garage. People think my neighbors think I'm crazy because I'm always got my garage door open. I'm always working on something, but you see me talking to myself. It's mostly because I'm making a video and I'm talking my way through the process of when I want to edit things. So it's actually funny if you've ever seen me a video making anything, you'll see my lips moving the entire time. Like it's just ridiculous. But when I come on, when my face is in the camera, it's set, it's ready, and I know where I need to go, and it comes out crystal clear. Remember, problem solution equals funding. You're solving a problem. That is the synopsis of your script. Hey, there is no art. We recently got a casino here in Danville, and not a lot of hotels. I've been to Danville. Like, there's a few hotels there, right? But I would much rather camp out there. If you've never been to Danville, it's a beautiful area. It's old tobacco country. It's beautiful out there. Being able to camp out there and go and see a show at the casino, or maybe enjoy libations and a little bit of gambling. I would really like to stay in an RV park instead, right? That's localized. You don't get any more localized than that. And the people there would probably support that. Another great lighting consultant. Hey, does your company suffer from bad lighting around the building? Well, here at our lighting consulting company, we really want to fix that for you. And pictures of the building, weekly updates of what it would look like at night, during the day, consistently going out there and what it looks like. Childcare, butcher shop, sewing shop, roller rink. Like, what's more nostalgic than a roller rink? I often think about that. Disco, funky disco music, like you could do this cheap, on the fly, with a cell phone, easily scripted, great visuals, and that's going to be a 2 to 3 day and a constant. Hey, there's not much to do in Franklin. There's not much to do here, or you can't get these supplies, at an easy time, or you're missing a hometown touch. We have a lot of places in rural areas. So that's always a benefit to you. And that's a great argument. Why do you exist? And why should I just randomly give you money for a possible maybe? That's really what you're doing at the end of the day. Next slide. Okay, so hints, tips, tricks, but the truth is we have somebody in here tonight that will speak to this a lot more than I can. Hopefully he's used some of this. I would hate for him to come on and be like, this dude's garbage. Like, they would just, I would just not ever teach another class. No, I'm kidding, right? But again, interaction with people, respond. This is not easy. This is not a passive thing. This is, I'm in it for 30 days to make sure I'm communicating what's going on, to make sure that people feel value when they didn't get anything really, right? Because we're giving them a gift, right? There's no tips for tat, right? Yeah, we have a thank you, but they're not really getting anything. So we got to make sure that they at least walk away with a great experience, that they felt good about donating money to whatever your project is, whatever your thing is, whatever the case may do. Just make sure you always add value. And emotion can be a very strong value to people. Next slide. Okay, so what platform best fits you? You can go with the popular ones, right? They're set up. They're going to eat a percentage. Make sure you calculate that cost, right? But really, it's up to you. And just about every niche group or demographic out there, right? There's one for veterans, African American owned, woman owned. When you start getting into these more alternate type fundings, and then you got the top five. The top five would be what is it? GoFundMe, Indigo, Kiva. That's relatively one that's been in the background, but they're slowly starting to rise. Even social media sites like Facebook is testing out something in its meta So, there's a lot of options for you out there, but don't go with something that's overcomplicated. If it's not in plain English, there's a reason why it's not in plain English. And it's because they don't want you paying attention too hard on something, right? This is where you're the strategic gambler and you're focusing on what it is you want to accomplish. And is this the right site to do it at? Do I need to move a couple of numbers around for things to make sense? Don't just go diving into this stuff. I'll share one bad story because we got a great story today. A gentleman who decided that he came into our office looking for some assistance, wanted to start a farm on a farm that his family had owned for almost 100 years here in Virginia. And I was like, oh, wow, that's okay. Let's do something with this. And the guy did not want to take any advice. He was like, I'm just going to I'm not writing a business plan. I'm not talking to banks. I'm just going to start a GoFundMe account and I'm just going to do this. And I was like, then why are you here? He was like, well, just tell me it's a good idea. And I'm like, I have no idea what your idea is. Sounds like you're just making statements to me. So he did. And he started his GoFundMe campaign and he would literally be on a camera like this, and he would talk to you about how he's overeducated and underworked or overeducated and overworked is literally what he told his audience, and how it's their responsibility to make sure this land doesn't go to waste in farming. And it just came off more insulting than anything else. Like, I don't know. It just came off cringy, I guess is what all the kids are saying now, right? He wasn't popping. I don't know what kids are saying today. I try to be cool, but it just wasn't working. And unfortunately, he did not calculate his gifts because he was into the mindset: the better the gift, right, the more they'll give. And what come to find out, the shipping of the gifts themselves were not calculating its final cost. In his complete GoFundMe account, he actually went into the negatives and had to pull money out of his pocket just to fulfill the orders. So again, we want to be careful with this kind of stuff. Simple, easy things that we can give out. The gift is not important. It is nothing more. Well, it's important. You should thank people, right? But it's not the focus of why people are there. They really want to support a local business. You are the reason why they're there. So make sure you tell them you thank them for that. So no one particular platform do I see as being better. Where you get caught on fees on one thing, you'll just get caught on something else on another. So just make sure you understand what you're going through. And again, you have great resource partners out there and websites. Like, nobody can hide anymore. These if it's a bad crowdfunding site, they get caught today really quickly. Next slide. All right, so my last thoughts, again, always be wary of the total cost of something. Make sure you have a good, exciting group of people behind you that will support you in this, a good team, because that's really your bread and butter. Other than that, I'm happy to answer. Oh, I'm sorry, last slide. All right, so I'm not choosing one of these over another. They're just randomly thrown in here. Some of the ones that we know that are completely safe and secured and no hinky stuff in the background. If you need things to kind of clip into a video, but you don't want to spend any money on it, you can use definitely the archive.org. That's all free, royalty free. They got music, pictures, whatever the case may be. Also, Fiverr. Let's say you don't want to do any of it. You just want somebody to do a voiceover with a quick edited video, right? Because you're like me, you're kind of frantic on air and it doesn't come off very well. You may just want to hire somebody to do it for you, right? Yes, it will cost you money. Calculate that cost into the ultimate giving at the end of the day. You should not be walking out of this completely losing all your money. You should be able to recoup your money and do the thing that you want to do at the end of the day. I think that's it for my slides. I wanted to keep this one short. I kind of ranted the last time I was here. Also, so I'll go ahead and I will share in the chat a link where, and I know that this is legit because it's literally an SBA update that came to our office. It looks like they just got an AI software to kind of read it off. But they do a lot of the updates, a lot of SBA information in there. But again, don't use this as your sole source. Use your resource partners and your network more than anything. This is just a strike up conversation. And that's tidbits of business.
So thank you so much, Joey. Appreciate you sharing your knowledge and expertise. Y'all, we have another super special guest with us today. We have Steffon from Roasters Next Door Coffee. Can I get a hands up if anybody has been to Steffon and his brother Quincy's, one of his 2 coffee shops in the Roanoke Valley, or it's on your list to go? So you can use the reactions in the menu at the bottom, or if you want to post up in the chat. But we are so excited. Steffon and Quincy have used a crowdfunding campaign. So I'm going to ask him to share a little bit about his experience. And if y'all have questions, we'll answer those in a minute. And then I also have some other information to share with one of our other guests who unfortunately is under the weather today, is not able to join us. So Steffon, talk to us. Tell us about your experience with crowdfunding and anything else, any other words of wisdom you want to share with this group today.
Sure. Well, thank you, Heather. And thank you, Joey, for all the information that you shared. I hope everybody can hear me fine. As was mentioned, my brother and I founded R&D Coffee, I guess, back in 2017 or so. And we definitely used a lot of the resources and techniques that Joey mentioned. And starting off, I guess as just some background, we started off selling coffee at like farmers markets. So like at that time, I basically had like the leanest setup that you could have to go sell coffee, just like a little table. I was doing pour overs just manually by hand, just trying to build like some like brand recognition and get into business, because as Joey mentioned, a lot of the things that we wanted to do were cost prohibitive at the time, like rent's expensive, equipment's expensive, and that sort of thing. And so I was like, all right, well, how can we get going? And like the farmers market was the answer. And so just doing that, people started to inquire. It's like, hey, where can I buy your coffee other times? And so just started getting the ball rolling. And then I was like, well, how can I do something that's a little bit more polished, a step up from the farmers market? And so I approached a local business in town that was open in the evenings, and they were selling mead at the time. And otherwise, their business was just sort of sitting vacant. And I was like, well, this is a pretty good setup that I could use to start selling more hot coffee, have some products on the shelf, and have a space that people can come to and know that I'll be there to buy coffee. And so I offered to split the rent with them. I was like, hey, this could be good, to introduce more people to your brand, as well as help me get going and save you some costs. And so that was sort of like the next evolution of the company. And so from there, it started to build a little bit more awareness, customer base, that sort of thing. And so I guess for me, that helped when we wanted to do the Kickstarter campaign. So at that point, was able to scrap together some of the money that we made from this little pop-up that we were doing in the meadery and open like a full cafe. But the end goal was really, we wanted to roast our own coffee. A lot of people appreciate being able to buy coffee or food or whatever that's locally made, right? And so that's what we really wanted to be able to provide for like the Roanoke community. And so I guess this is probably maybe 3 months into being into business with like a brick and mortar shop, to where it's just me and my brother working, open to close every day, and then still having to go to the grocery store and like buy supplies for the next day, to where it's really just us trying to like bootstrap it and make it. We were like, well, if we can get this crowdfunding campaign to work, it'll allow us to increase our revenues, provide a product that people are already asking for. And so we thought we could have a good shot at succeeding with that. And so we used Kickstarter for our crowdfunding, and we set a goal of $12,500 to basically help us purchase our initial like raw goods order, because coffee comes as like a green, like raw product, and you roast it to where you can, then grind it and brew it and whatnot. And so it's like we basically detailed out in our video, as Joey mentioned, those are super important, what we were going to do with the money. So it's like make this first order of green coffee, build out a space to where we can like roast it, bag it, a production facility, and make our first order of like bags and labels and everything. So basically the whole thing to get coffee into the hands of the people that wanted it. And so we made a video, and it actually helped make a video for a separate coffee company a few years earlier in a successful Kickstarter campaign that they did as well. So I had a little bit of experience with that. And one of the things I learned from that experience when I recorded and edited the video for them was, like, you as the founder have a lot of things that you want to say, right? You're very excited about your business, your product, or what you want to do. And so it's really easy to all of a sudden have a video that's 10 minutes long. And while you might be saying some really great things, as far as like building engagement and getting more people to watch that and contribute to the campaign, generally we ended up having more success with the shorter, concise videos. And so that's something that I would encourage people to work on. So whether you record it once and you're like, oh, this is pretty good, go back and watch it and see if there's something that you could cut, to make it a little bit shorter, because sometimes less is more. So like the most concise you can make it while still clearly communicating what you want to get across, I think will contribute to higher engagement and contributions, because then people feel better about sharing it. People will watch the whole thing and feel like they understand what you're trying to do, as opposed to getting bored maybe a couple minutes in. And so, yes, had the video on the Kickstarter website. Our goal was $12,500, and we ended up raising about $13,500. So we, got more than we were asking for, but through the whole process, it wasn't necessarily clear the whole time that we were going to reach the goal. So it was a little bit nerve-wracking. And I know there's the inclination sometimes that I should make this campaign a little bit longer, because the longer I make it, that gives people more time to contribute. But the 30 days that the websites tend to recommend are usually the sweet spot, because you're going to get most of your donations in the first couple hours, days, or whatever of your campaign, and then again at the tail end when time is running out, we can make that final push and promotion on your social media pages or to your friends and family, like, hey, we're almost there to our goal, we just need a little bit more to help us get over the hump. And then that's kind of where it happens. So no need to make it too much longer than that. We offered a couple different tiers of gifts, as was mentioned. So like having a physical product is one way to make it pretty easy. It's like, this is the obvious thing. Like we're doing this campaign to make this, and so this should be a gift that we should offer people. But even what a bag of coffee costs, between $13, $20, whatever, however nice the coffee is, we wanted to have something that was a little bit more approachable too. And so it's like, if you just want to contribute because you want to see us continue to do good and grow and that sort of thing, you could contribute $3, $5, and you can come in and get a free cup of coffee, free pastry, like as a gift, that sort of thing, and then tiered it up. But as Joey mentioned, you have to build in and factor like what your labor is going to be on that, what your costs are, again, because you don't want to go into the hole or end up losing money on that. But I would say just generally to build those out based on your product and your skill set. And so like I had the coffee background, but my brother worked in Michelin star restaurants and, went to culinary school, and so has that food background. And so we were able to put together some gifts where we did like a brunch for 4. We would come and cook that in folks' homes. And it was really nice, intimate sort of deal. They got to see us making the food and serving it there at their house, and that was pretty great. This is all like pre-COVID and everything, of course. And then a step up from that, we also offered a private dinner for 8. And those were like, several $1,000s. I think it's like a $2,000 contribution would get you that, to where you had multiple courses for 8 people. Again, that one we actually found a venue to rent and hosted it there. And so those were really nice to be able to offer. And, not everybody is going to choose that really high dollar option, but you never know who might. And we ended up having 2 people select that and 4 people do the private brunches, so several $500 contributions and then several $2,000 contributions really help sort of chip away at that total. And it also helps build sort of energy to continue the campaign, right? Because people want to support your business if they're excited about it, but also seeing that the campaign is going well and is going to most likely be funded helps encourage people to feel good about giving some of their money too, because they're like, oh, this is going to happen, so I might as well contribute, be a part of it, and whatnot. So let's see. Oh yeah. So it's definitely not a solo kind of thing, though, as Joey's mentioned. Like I had to lean pretty heavily on my network, and I'm not one that typically is great about asking for help. And so just the process of making the video and putting myself out there was a little bit difficult, but it was something that I had to do. But it's like I worked at the Shoots Brewery in Roanoke here when they first opened up. And so the benefit of that was I had a lot of FaceTime with all sorts of people in Roanoke and passing through. And a lot of those people, when I first started doing the farmers market and then the brick and mortar cafe, were the first to come and support our business. And then when we launched the Kickstarter campaign, were some of the most vocal people to like share it and send it out on their Facebook pages, on their Instagram and that sort of thing. And so if you have people like that that are already big fans of your idea or what you're doing, they're going to be some of the biggest help that you could, garner to make your campaign successful. Another thing I might caution against is to not over promise also, especially if you're not 100% sure on the details of how everything is going to come out. So like, general like maxim, I suppose, is to under promise and then over deliver. And that's what I hope we did with our campaign and try to do still, is like we have a product that we're proud of and we're excited to share, but nobody's ever tasted this roasted coffee before, and it's like it's going to be on a machine that we've never used before, and so there's a lot of things going into just making the product to where it's like, hey, we think this is going to be great, and so try to communicate your vision and how you see things going, and then in the end, hopefully, what you actually deliver to people as a gift and product is better than they even imagined. Let's see. But I think that's more or less all I have to say about that. I wouldn't say that I'm a Kickstarter expert or anything like that, or crowdfunding expert. It just happened to be something that worked out for us, in part just due to the community support. Folks in Roanoke here, I found just in the whole to be very supportive of anything local and sincere, craft made and whatnot. So, but I'd be happy to answer like questions anybody might have, or yeah. Hope I didn't ramble at y'all too much.
Thank you so much, Steffon. It's so interesting. I thought one piece that I just thought it was really interesting, when you have those relationships with people, you've almost given them help share the megaphone with them to help get your message out to folks that may not know you. And that kind of intricacy of the connections of the people, that social capital is critical in a lot of different ways, as you mentioned.
No, it was interesting at the end seeing where some of the contributions came from, because again, we did have a physical thing that we could send out in the mail, and we ended up sending coffee to like British Columbia and like a few other countries, and like these are definitely people that I don't know, and yet somehow got connected to the campaign that we were putting on. And so it was really great. Like coffee ended up going to most of the states, I'd say probably like 48 states or so. And so like the distribution on it was pretty great. And I'm like, it's pretty neat to see how far, your network and influence can spread, when given sufficient energy, I guess, of your community.
Awesome. Okay, friends, I'm going to share Brittany from Buffalo Mountain Adventures shared just a few remarks. She regrets that she's not able to join us today. But I'm just going to read a few things that she has to share, and then I thought we'd just open it up for questions and continue our conversation here. All right. Okay, a couple corners she shares are most crowdfunding experts platforms recommend that you have a professional video made. Typically, campaigns with a professional looking video will be more successfully funded. She did have a professional video made and put a lot of time into creating a nice looking platform page, reward packages, etc. One of the largest unexpected barriers that she ran into was that people just weren't watching the video or taking the time to learn about the rewards. She found that people would click on the link to the crowdfunding page, but not watch the video or even take a second glance at the rewards options. It was a huge blow in the middle of her campaign, and she had to readjust her strategy to get the information in people's if they weren't going to take 2 minutes to check it out themselves. So she regrouped and made a shorter version of the video to post on Reels and social media to grab people's attention. She shares that she started to focus on more of the rewards in her social media posts as well. One of the lessons she gleaned is don't count on people to do the work of clicking on your crowdfunding page link or watching your video or learning about your project. Get this information in front of people as many ways as possible with the least amount of effort on their part. Videos work really well. Utilize video posts online of you talking about your project. Utilize reels and show updates. You may also have to educate people about how the campaign works. She's been so immersed in crowdfunding research that she mistakenly assumed that people were familiar with how crowdfunding works as well. She realized that a lot of folks were not familiar with the concept of crowdfunding or don't even understand that you can receive rewards in exchange for your contribution. They may think you're just asking for donations. So be clear about your service that you're bringing to your community, the work that you've already put in yourself, and how they will benefit from supporting you. She also shares to be really specific of what you're asking folks to do and make it as simple as possible for them. For example, if you ask them to share, give them a graphic that they can share. Make sure they know how to share. People get busy and caught up in their own lives and they can't read your mind. Don't be afraid to reach out personally and say, hey, can you please share my last post on your social media? Keeping in mind that many people are showing support during your campaign, even if they are not able to contribute monetarily. She had some friends who were not able to make a donation, but they offered help in other ways. One friend helped create a YouTube channel and gave a shout out there. Another friend offered to use her marketing skills to take some things off of Brittany's plate. So she encouraged each of you that are considering crowdfunding to think outside of the box in ways that your community can be supportive, even if they aren't able to contribute financially. And I'll post her contact information in the chat. She's also offered, if you all have questions, she'd be glad to share or be a sounding board for you as well. So those are some tips as well. What questions do you have? Okay, let's see. Let me look in the chat. Okay, good. Claudia has asked Steffon, why did you choose Kickstarter versus one of the other platforms for crowdfunding?
Yeah, I was actually typing a response right there,
Oh,
but no, happy to answer and share it with everybody. So thank you, Claudia. We chose Kickstarter because at the time it was the platform that personally I was most familiar with and had contributed to campaigns before. And I also thought it had the most name recognition also, which we figured would reduce the friction of getting people to contribute if they had also used Kickstarter before, or at least heard of it, right? As opposed to, I don't know, maybe back then, not everybody had heard of GoFundMe or whatnot, but for a physical product and a retail business like we were, it seemed like similar businesses had more success on Kickstarter, whereas GoFundMe or similar websites maybe were used more so for personal fundraising for a trip, a personal trip, or if somebody was ill or something like that. And so it just seemed like the best fit for us at the time. But now there's any number of options that are probably pretty great.
That's actually a good point. Different platforms are kind of geared and niche for certain interests. I know people like comic book creators and stuff like that. They love themselves some Indiegogo. I said I was a nerd earlier. I collect comic books, so and businesses like small businesses that need a thing or a small amount of cash starting up. Kickstarter is a great source for that too. So again, whatever that niche is, back to that kind of local tribalism, what do you fit into? Definitely there's a platform for that kind of focuses in on that little niched area. I think starting off with Kickstarter was absolutely genius, Steffon. I really do.
Excellent. Okay, Hope has asked, is it better to do a sum of money versus asking people to purchase specific items needed?
Could I clarify on that?
Yeah.
Hi, everybody.
Please.
So when I've been sharing my ideas with some clients, I own a dog training company, and I've been running my group classes with Roanoke County, and I've decided to look for my own place. So thank you. So some clients said, oh, it would be great if you created a wish list, like this many cans of paint or this many feet of fencing, or this many chairs, or something like that, so that people felt like they were, very specifically helping and getting something specific, versus just sort of coming up with a lump sum and asking people that way.
I can respond to that if that's fine.
Absolutely.
I think personally, like the lump sum, at least for us and a lot of businesses similar to us, I think probably works better. I think it's not a bad idea to like have a wish list and maybe even sort of mention that or show that in your video or on like the campaign page, but to not necessarily make it like literal, because I think if you have like, okay, $500 gets us, this fence to go around the building, $1,000 gets us, X other thing. People might feel like, okay, like I just want to contribute to like this amount, and then like certain platforms won't let you just take, a certain proportion of it, right? I know now there are more options on crowdfunding websites to where if you only raise, 30% of your goal, you can still get some percentage of that funds, but that's not the case for all of them. And so I think being clear about how you're going to use the money and sort of have that, and if you want to list it visually, then that's perfectly good. But yeah, I think the lump sum, because like the idea is to support the whole product, the whole end goal, right? Because just some paint won't get you the whole business, right? The whole dog training and everything. So I think trying to pitch it and position it that way will probably lead to more success, and then won't leave you still sort of scrapping for money if you ended up only getting, some portion of like the funds you were looking for.
Okay, thank you.
Great question, Hope, and thank you, Steffon, for answering. Okay, we've got some other questions here in the chat. Nick has asked, how do you identify the niche of the different platforms provide to choose where to begin his campaign?
So what I would recommend, I'm assuming this question's for, because I'm the one that uses niche a lot. So here's what you do, right? You go to the ones that probably attract you the most, and you just watch some videos on there. You'll know immediately. Think of this as the same way when you did your market research for your company and you were debating your competitors. You're both your direct and your direct competitors, because you're actually competing on these platforms for people's generosity at the end of the day. And there's a good chance that somebody's probably doing something that's kind of similar to you. So, you're going to have to step up your game. So you are going to have to do, I would take a weekend or there's no good entertainment on streaming anymore. So, you can throw that time away and just sit down on the computer and just watch some of these people. Like it's everything from high production value studio campaigns all the way down to a guy in his bedroom with an unmade bed saying that he needs a vacation. Like you got the gambit there. And just find the businesses that are closest related to you. You can also just do simple hashtag searches on most social media sites, and their campaigns will pop right up. But nothing wrong with actually going into the website and looking at them too, because now you start getting a little bit more familiarized with that particular website if you have no experience on these platforms before. Definitely start with the big five. They're going to be that's the immediate attraction. But if you're a veteran, like I'm just saying this for the veterans out there, I'm a veteran myself. Fun Vets is probably the most niched and generous one out there, but you have to be a veteran to play, or dependent.
Excellent. Thank you, Joey. Okay, our next question is from Claudia. Are you able to suggest or recommend what types of projects fall into crowdfunding campaigns? One, whether you're just getting started or if you're in business and you want to expand.
I'll just say that it seems like these days almost any sort of project can be successful. And again, whether it's about finding the correct platform or whatnot, because now people are making indie board games, because they have this idea that they think is cool and are able to effectively communicate that to other people. And so that might be a pretty niche thing, to make a board game or like a deck of cards for folks. But if you have a price such that, you can get it funded and can generate the requisite excitement, then that's all that really matters. But I think historically, either businesses that are a place people can come to do really well because they're like, oh, this is, a business, a physical place that I'll be able to go and hang out and we'll get the personal satisfaction, enjoyment of going to at some point in the future, or like a physical product with, similar reasons. It's like, oh, this is something I'll be able to have or use and can see it fitting into like my everyday life, but other ones that might just be more geared towards, making like a local park or something like that to where it's a social good and not so much for profit also do pretty well. So it's just, almost anything can be successful these days, provided the proper pitch.
I would have to agree. I've seen just stuff that I would look at the crowdfunding. I'm just like, this is not going to win, right? And I'm basing it off of my experiences and who cares about that, right? And sure enough, I'll go back 3 weeks later, and it's like, oh wow, this guy just bought. Like there was one. I'll share a quick one. So everybody knows that card counting in blackjack is not illegal, but it is highly something that casinos don't like. And there was a crowdfunding campaign for a group of guys to go do what is known as just a rush, right? You hit Vegas for like 4 days, a team of card counters split up the funds for the investment, yada, yada, yada. They needed some seed money. You're not getting any money back when you bet into this thing. And they made $250,000 and they were only asking for $5,000. It was just absolutely ridiculous. So no, it doesn't matter. Whatever you have a good story, and you're genuine about it and you're being honest and you're just throwing yourself out there, you can ask for money for just about any legal activity. I emphasize the word legal out there, and you stand, I would say you actually have a better footing now than any time in history to receive any type of money for your business, regardless of what banks or investments are doing right now. Because now, you have the technology to talk to the world at any given moment.
Julia has asked, she shares that she started a crowdfunding campaign, was able to raise about $500 a week, but it has slowed down. Any tips for reaching new audiences and getting my current audience, interested in about what I'm doing?
Yeah. So, we talked a little bit about like social media and the importance of, making your video for like the platform, the website, and then, subsequent videos and posts to continue to garner interest. But something I forgot to mention, like if you can get any sort of local press, that is huge too. And so like if you know some people at the local news station or whatever, like try to get it in front of them. And like often they need stuff to put on the air. And so especially if it's a feel good, type campaign, or will bring something like new to the area, often they're really interested in promoting that, right? As long as it doesn't seem necessarily like a commercial for one, but then there are other options for getting on like local TV, especially some of the same news programs have like, midday programming to where they offer little tidbits of news, but then also have like local business highlights. And sometimes you can get onto that for free, but then some localities and stations also will let you on the air for, whether it's $100, $250, whatever their rate is to promote your thing. And so like, if you have a demo that you can do on air, that's kind of interesting to look at. Often they're really interested in that. And so, yeah, that's another option to try to get more visibility for what you're doing outside of people that kind of already know who you are and what you're about.
Great point, Steffon. Okay, as we have about 6 minutes left. I've got a couple more questions. I'm going to post our evaluation poll and up if you all will want to share your feedback with us. The next question, Jeanette has asked about tax implications raised by crowdfunding. And I think, Joey, you went over that a little bit, but would you circle back to that for us? You're muted.
Yes. Yeah, I'm sorry. I had the
That's
poll
okay.
and I was like, I'm going to answer the poll. And then I was like, no, I can't. I got to answer this. So tax implications when it comes down to it. So the IRS is dipping their toes in it. So the updated law as it stands right now, I put a link in the chat and I'll put it again on the new tax update for crowdfunding. Now, it's purposely not overcomplicated because we don't want to, we understand that taxes are complicated enough. But the way it basically breaks down is a gift is a gift. Think of it in that hand. So as long as the person understands that is donating money to you, that all you're basically doing is giving an over glorified thank you card, right? Whatever that thing is, the MacGuffin, as long as that's understood. Now on the platform, however, understand that the payment processor or the platform at that point, they're going to charge you a tax now. If that hasn't already happened, it should have already happened in 2022, but there'll be a tax associated with that now. Again, that's explained in the video tidbits business there. We at the SBA, we don't have any like catchy YouTube videos that it just seems like a lot of noise. So this seems to kind of streamline it, hard hit it with some links down below. It seems to be the best way. It's a little bit for YouTube videos, a little long, but I think it's a lot better. Definitely give that a gander. And there's some other stuff on there too. I have not seen anything that the SBA disagrees with on here. Whoever this is, this tidbits person, they're actually kind of smart. They're just taking the updates that we post out into the public and they're just putting it in a cartoon or doodly sketch program. So kudos to you for finding that niche there, tidbits, whoever you are. Good. You son of a gun, I should have thought that myself. But also, I'll go ahead and answer this question too. Somebody wanted me to repeat the name of the veteran platform. That is actually, it looks like they recently changed their name, and that is the Veteran Crowd Network. The Veteran Crowd Network, or Veteran Crowd. Simple Google search, they're the third thing down from it. Not a problem.
I'm posting that link in the chat for you. All right. Let's see here. Other questions? We've got a couple minutes left. We've got two brilliant minds to share their experience. I don't know about y'all, but I have learned so much from both Steffon and Joey and from you all asking great questions. This is an exciting time for all of us, and there's just so many cool things happening around us. And you'll have to keep us posted if you venture into crowdfunding. You'll have to come back and let us know how it's going and what's happening with your business. Nick, great question. So I am going to, after this is over, I will download the recording and Joey's slides and get that out to the folks that joined us today live. And I'll make sure that you've got the contact information for the SBDC in there. And happy to support you all on your journey and get you connected to folks here in the region. And I've got Joey. Steffon, do you mind if anybody asks any follow-up questions to you?
Oh yeah, that'd be perfectly fine. You know, if my email goes in the chat, I can just add that to it, I guess. But
Okay.
People could just reach out to me at R&D, letter R, letter N, letter D, at roanokecoffee.com. And that email will just go right to me. And yeah, happy to share any tips or answer questions and that sort of thing.
Also at the back of the slide deck that will be sent out to you today is our regional branch office contact information. So all my information will be right there in the slide deck at the end. Please reach out to our office. It's not just me here. Well, here we're still teleworking. It's not just us, I should say, but we have a brilliant staff of people that truly everybody's kind of got their area of expertise. So yeah, it doesn't matter if it's government contracting or startups or whatever the case may be. We have somebody here that should be able to answer the question. And if not, we have our lovely resource partners over at Small Business Development Center scattered throughout Virginia and the little triangle map that you saw at the beginning.
Any last minute questions? Y'all have done a great job of asking good questions in the chat. It's a lot to learn and process. So reach out to us, and I've posted Joey's email in the chat, and I'll include those in the follow-up email as well. But if there are no more questions, we are right at 3 o'clock. And so I want to be cognizant of everyone's time. And thank you again, Joey and Steffon and Brittany, even though you weren't able to be here today. I know I learned some other things, and it was good to reiterate what we have shared, what Steffon and Joey have shared during our conversation today. Well, thank you all again. I hope everyone has a great rest of the week, and good luck to each of you, and stay in touch. Thank you.
Goodbye, everyone.